Comparison price for Thursday, September 11th, 2025. In this show, presentation of Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the historic Wall Center. It's built by Arbor Lee. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. As a matter of fact, we will be at a Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Sekeres alongside Blake Price and four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson, Hidden Switches, conducting things. We've got two interns now, Caleb Templeton, Braden Goodman. Welcome to all. How are you?
Pretty good. The NHL has turned. We've long implored the NHL to take a page out of the NBA's book and make things a little spicy in the offseason, give us some soap opera. Matt, they are obliging these days, as we'll get into, but there's a couple of fronts where some pretty darn big name players have some stories swirling around them, including right here in Vancouver.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, and we're going to be fixated on Quinn Hughes because we cover and follow the Vancouver Canucks, so that's what we do. But wow, yes, not alone across the National Hockey League. More on that as we continue with the program. For now, the poll question presented by the Redwoods Golf Course. How many seasons does Quinn Hughes have left in Vancouver? You can vote 1, you can vote 2, you can vote many more. Do so at the Sekeres Price X and YouTube channels. Blake, what says you?
I'm going to say 1, but I'm struck most right now in the early going, certainly in the YouTube voting, which has just begun now. Twitter's had a bit of a head start, is the reticence to vote for 2 in the early voting, which leads you to believe, Matt, that the fans who have taken part so far have basically said, you can't let it get to the point that Kaprizov and McDavid are in right now.
Yep.
Like that.
That's absolutely correct. I wholeheartedly agree with them.
They have said, we have a deadline in our brains that is 2 months ago if you're McDavid or Kaprizov.
Mm-hmm.
That they either want the many more dealt with in July of next year, early July, or they want the one option and saying, get the best that you absolutely can.
I voted 1. I voted 1 based on what Quinn had to say to Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, and we'll get into that in a second. But I think when Jim Rutherford said what he said in April about one day wanting to play with his brothers, his headspace had already wrapped itself around a post-Quinn Hughes world here in Vancouver. This is your job as a manager. You hope for the best, but you got to plan for the worst. And what I heard from Quinn and what I didn't hear from Quinn leads me to believe that he's not going to sign an extension next summer. And if that's the case, you've got to move on him as a Vancouver Canuck manager. You don't have the luxury of hoping that you can change his mind in that final year and potentially lose him for nothing. I know Rutherford has said they have till the 2027, is that right? 2027 deadline. And theoretically, sure. But this was chilling stuff from Hughes, if you ask me, on the 32 Thoughts podcast. And you're right. Most people went in with 1. I saw one of our respondents say, it's almost starting to feel like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, there's a lot of optimists that are saying many more as well. I think, that's going to get a lot of votes as well.
Sure.
But
it's an optimistic time of year. I know some people just don't want to have to encounter hard truths until they're at the doorstep, and that's not the case here. It's not the doorstep. But
the lack of votes for 2 is further evidence. It's a small crowd, but there was a crowd going, guys, he's got 2 years left on his contract. He's playing here.
And that's right.
But people clearly don't think he's playing hockey in Vancouver.
Yeah.
For the next 2 years.
Right. So, like, just consider this for a second. The Toronto Maple Leafs have been a better team than the Vancouver Canucks over the last number of years. Now, you can cherry pick the Canucks season from 2 years ago and say, hey, that team is as good as Toronto. Okay, fair enough. But the Leafs have been perennial playoff team for some time now.
Yeah.
They rolled the dice with Mitch Marner, right? They thought they were a contending team and decided, yep, we're going to keep Mitch Marner through the deadline into the final year of his contract and into his final, what turned out to be his final postseason with the Leafs, and then watched him sign in Vegas. Mm-hmm. Canucks still have a ways to go, I think, to get to the position that the Leafs have been in. Can you get there in 2 years? Or 1.5 years? Theoretically, yeah, I guess it's possible. But a lot of things would have to go right. And I think you'd have to, you would not only have to have a good year this year, you would have to have an excellent offseason next year to be talking about a team that's truly a cup contender. Can they be a playoff team this year? Yeah, I think so. But I'm not sure you can look at that center ice position and this collection of forwards and say, yeah, that's a team that can go toe for toe with Florida.
But again, does merely showing some direction, and I think it's a reasonable assertion to make by fans and media alike, if the Canucks organization shows Quinn that they have a direction, that there are steps being taken, that he will be enamored enough to sign an extension. Mm-hmm. I get it. That makes sense in a lot of ways. But the lure is not merely leaving for greener pastures. That's not the lure. The lure is to play with his brothers. And so for me, does really, and probably for a franchise that is at or better or at or ahead of the Canucks evolution, so he can have his cake and eat it too, if all goes according to plan in New Jersey, that he can not only play with his brothers, but play on a franchise that is certainly no worse than the Vancouver Canucks will likely be at that stage. Like the Devils aren't an old team that is all of a sudden going to be not worth joining in 2 years' time. Mm-hmm. Devils have got pieces. They intend on being a contender in 2 years' time, if not sooner. So, like, what can you do? What is going to move the needle enough in Quinn Hughes' world that allows him to stay here?
Well, so I can understand why some, and particularly fans who just shudder at the thought of losing Hughes, think that a positive step forward this season and a making the playoffs season might be enough. I get the sense that it's got to be more than that.
I don't even know what that means. Like,
well,
sure,
what that means is cup contention. What that means is getting to the Western
in a
Conference
year.
Final.
In a year.
Yeah, this year.
This year.
Well, no, but just proving beyond a shadow of a doubt you're a contender.
Yeah.
And you look at this roster, I think that would take a hell of a lot of work. Their rabbits would need to be pulled.
Yes. Agreed. Because, as we've said, with regards to some available players like McTavish and even Rossi, like, do the Canucks even have the assets to pull off a trade to acquire a player that helps them get there?
And this is where all the years of trading out draft picks and early draft picks come back to haunt, right? That you either don't have the depth of organization or don't have the high-level talent to be able to construct that contender. Mm-hmm. Like when it's a year-to-year proposition, that's not how contenders operate. Contenders are pretty confident in their core and fiddle around the edges or in the mid-pack to try and improve. Teams that are looking for second-line centers aren't contenders. It's a necessary piece of being a contender. Mm-hmm. We're going to get out to Redwoods next week for an on-course playing lesson with their pro, Craig. Looking forward to that. Want to let you know that after-school junior golf camps available running through the late summer and into the early fall. This is for kids ages 6 to 16. Private, semi-private junior lessons also available, flexible to your schedule. Winter lessons available soon. We're going to be telling you about that in the coming weeks. Set your kids up for the sport of a lifetime. They have the big range there. It is covered. It is shaded. keeps the rain off. They got a practice bunker. They have a fantastic chipping green there as well. And want to play around at the Redwoods? If you got a well-behaved pup, bring them. Dog-friendly course. redwoods-golf.com/instruction. Get yourself there. Okay, our top story brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. He couldn't say yes, and he talked in past tense. Chilling stuff from Quinn Hughes on Elliot Friedman's 32 Thoughts podcast. The Canucks captain asked point blank by Elliot if the Canucks have any chance to keep him. And Hughes replies, I mean, I've really enjoyed Vancouver. I'm very thankful. When I came to Vancouver, actually, let's just pause there. I've really enjoyed Vancouver, past tense. I'm very thankful.
Well,
we're saying our thank yous already?
It's a whatever past participle. Like, it's not full past. It's I have enjoyed. It's inclusive of the present. Okay. I'm not hung up on that one.
I'm a little hung up on that
because Matt, he knows
this
he's
is what players who want out or who are planning to be out say.
Well, he also knows that
This is what guys who aren't planning to sign 8-year extensions say. Do they have any chance? The answer should have been, yeah, of course.
Right. No, that's the biggest piece. That's the biggest piece is the lack of yes. But what I'm saying is the past tense part doesn't bother me because he's actually playing this season for the Vancouver. He'll at least start the season with the Vancouver Canucks. He's going to be there on opening night. So there is a future for him in a Vancouver Canucks uniform. Of that much, I think, is clear. How long that future is, we don't know. So the tense doesn't bother me. What is curious is it is absolutely free and non-binding to say, yeah, there's a chance. Like, in fact, I'm pretty sure Matthew Tkachuk even said that. Certainly Johnny Gaudreau did. You know,
it's just the lowest bar ever.
Yeah. Again, non-binding.
Like a worm could clear that bar.
Yeah. You can say yes and then not do it. No one, it's a non-criminal offense. You know,
he continued, when I came to Vancouver, I don't think I've even thought I was going to become what I've become. That's happened because of the people in Vancouver, management, coaching. I've had great relationships with Bruce and Rick. And I wonder if that's another breadcrumb, right? Especially talking. Management's been kind of giving me the keys to the kingdom a couple of years ago, and it is the 2-year anniversary of him being named captain. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful. I even hate that sentence. As far as this year, I just feel like last year was a failure, and I want to propel my game even further, propel my teammates even further, see what we can do.
You got to give him credit for the back end there.
Right.
He is talking future with these teammates.
But here's the thing. Between Rutherford's comments in April about playing with his brothers, Jack Hughes' comments earlier this week about not afraid to say they want to play together, and Quinn's non-committal answer to even a chance of staying in Vancouver, the breadcrumbs are lining up. The story is moving awfully fast, too fast for Canucks fans, and I certainly understand their disappointment and their angst. I mean, it almost sounds like all these guys are speaking it into existence. Now, Quinn continued on the question. He added, as far as that question, I'll answer it with my actions next summer. I liked that answer better, but of course the actions could be inaction. No, I'm not prepared to sign an extension with you guys. I want to see how this next season goes before fully committing to Vancouver. If something like that comes out of his mouth next spring, Blake, you have to move him, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good sign. I mean, but here we are with McDavid, and people are still there's a faction of people that are still adamantly convinced that McDavid is re-signing in Edmonton. But McDavid's comments are similar to that as well. He's basically
I think when you say there are people that I think those are wishful thinkers and people who just don't want to rock the boat.
Are you adamantly convinced that McDavid's not staying?
No, I'm not adamantly convinced either way. But, of course, that's a team that's been to 2 straight Cup finals. that's a team that would surprise nobody if they're playing for the Stanley Cup again next June.
Yeah, which almost makes McDavid's statements a tad unfair. Like if you're an Oiler fan, you can be like, they put a good enough team that you've gone to Game 7 and Game 6 of the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years. Like you can reach out and touch the cup.
Except they haven't fixed the goaltending.
Right.
And look, if you're a neutral fan, if you have no horse in the race, you're not even a hockey fan, and you're presented with both of these scenarios, I think you can understand why Quinn Hughes would be reticent with the Canucks.
Yes.
To your point, yeah. In McDavid's case, it's like, oh, boy, what more can we do? Fix the goaltending.
And you say fix the goaltending, and that isn't obvious, and I've told you how I'm not a big Skinner fan. But at the same time, like every team has got imperfections.
Yep.
And if you've made it to Game 6 or 7 of the Stanley Cup final, whatever your managers and coaches have done, it's been pretty.
It's a really big imperfection.
Pretty darn good.
It's a really big imperfection, though, right? Like,
it's
like there may be a baseball team this postseason that it's like, wow, that's a really great lineup and a really good bullpen. It's really too bad that they're so bad at starting pitching. You know, the guys got to get you through 5 or 6 innings. They're terrible, but the rest of the team's really good. Yeah,
it's nuanced.
It is very nuanced. Hughes continued, quote, anything can change. If we have a terrible year, that's probably not going to be very fun. But if we have a terrific year, that's what we want. I think we're starting to hear some of the scar tissue of last year, what happened in the dressing room with Pettersson and Miller, and then what happened after the season ended when Rick Tocchet said no to the Vancouver Canucks and went off and chose to coach the Philadelphia Flyers. You know, when the Tocchet to Philadelphia thing reared last season, our inbox and feedback channels were filled with people going, are you kidding me? He's going to go and coach that team? Like, look at how terrible that team. They're so far away. And yeah, guess what? Rick Tocchet viewed that as a better situation than here in Vancouver, even after the Canucks stepped up financially. Like canaries and mine shafts. And yeah, Quinn now onto a 4th head coach. We talked about this with Elias. Now onto a 4th head coach with the Vancouver Canucks. And based on, you made the comment, he sounds like his chest is out this year. And I sort of love the confidence and the bravado.
He knows how good he is.
And I love the recognition of how good he is. Yeah. So many hockey players, you know, the stars just want to, you know, behave as though they're no different than the 4th line left winger. Right. And that's just not the case. And we're hearing that from Quinn. And I love, as I mentioned on yesterday's program, that I think a lot of the words that we're hearing from Quinn this year are as much this week are as much directed to his teammates as to anyone else. You know what? We had a really shitty thing going on in the dressing room last year. Guess what? I rose my level. I still played well. I was proud of that because I knew we needed the wins. I knew it would be even more difficult to win in that environment, and so I stepped it up. So he is completely growing into the captaincy. I think that is a fantastic development for the Canucks because if he's taken that sort of bravado, confidence, leadership, even to some degree authority that we've heard this week, and he's bringing that into the room and he's starting to be a little bit more of a scary captain like Nathan MacKinnon is for the Colorado Avalanche, I think that's a good thing, Blake.
Yeah.
Like I think this Canucks team has been mostly immature, sensitive, and in need of that sort of presence in the room.
As we've chronicled, though, with other superstars on lesser teams, you know, they can get frustrated sometimes with the lack of skill that is around them. And there's only so much that a superstar in a team sport like this, in a non-NBA sport, there's only so much that a superstar can do. They can only be out there upwards of 46% of the game. And I do wonder if we're going to harken back to Quinn Hughes' comments. I don't think he meant them as big as they could potentially be when he said we're not going to be the most skilled team. In that moment, I think he's thinking we can be the not most skilled team, but if we work hard, we'll be okay. But ultimately, if the team does not get off to a good start, if they ultimately do not have a good season, I think he's going to harken back and going, yeah, we just weren't skilled enough. I told you guys that at the outset. We needed to be better. And this roster seems hamstrung right now, Matt. We talked about the lack of inventory in the cupboards to really acquire another impact player. And there's not really an obvious contract to move out either that alleviates that. Like there's not a horrible contract that you could pay somebody to take away that allows you the space now to bring in somebody. There's not a clear path to acquire another impact player. Even if you saw one available on the market, how does that player, whoever it is, end up in Vancouver? And I don't think it's very clear on how that would happen. The mechanics of that occurring. So they are a little bit hamstrung.
You know how that happens? You trade Quinn Hughes.
Well, that's...
And
you're losing
my
the
headspace.
impact player.
And look, we had this discussion early in the summer, shortly after, I should say the spring, shortly after Rutherford's comments about the brothers wanting to play together. And we put it out there in a poll question. And I was really impressed with how many Canucks fans were able to view the issue with clarity, removing the emotion, and replied, I've thought about it myself. 2 years of Quinn Hughes is worth so much on the trade market. That could really set this franchise up for future success. It may not be as fun watching a defenseman with this skill set play on a night-to-night basis. It may not return the sort of star power. Well, it wouldn't return the star power that is equivalent to Quinn Hughes, or that you very well might need to actually win a Stanley Cup. But after years and years of trading away draft picks, having a short-term view, not having a grand vision and long-term plan, it's the sort of trade that could recast the franchise on a different course, a course that may very well get them back to where they are right now in relatively short order, if not get them ahead over the long term. Again, would really miss watching him play here. He is worth the price of admission night in, night out. But if you wait beyond this year, then every other team sort of looks at it the same way you do, and that is it like a one-year rental before he goes and signs in New Jersey? Think of the number of contenders, or even teams below the contender level, Blake, that, wow, we could add Quinn Hughes to this team? I just think your marketplace for the player right now is absolutely robust with a competitive environment where you could make a very, very healthy trade in terms of what's coming back. I'm not sure what that trade looks like next summer. Is he pliable? Yeah, of course he is. Is he going to get you something good in return? Yeah. Is it enough to set up the next cycle of the team and make it competitive? And I don't just mean playoff competitive. I mean Stanley Cup competitive.
I'm going back to the in case of emergency break glass of ridiculously overpaying for Luke Hughes. Like, is there nothing like, and I mean,
yep.
And I mean,
I've considered that more
ridiculously
every
overpaying.
Single day that Luke Hughes goes unsigned in New Jersey, now 2.5 months after his GM called him the off-season priority.
Like you make a trade where you're almost looking like a trade for Quinn. Like it's a stupid trade, but it preserves the piece for years to come, presumably.
The problem is you absolutely have to know that that's enough to keep Quinn here. Because, of course, at that point, it's just two brothers. It's going to be difficult to add the third brother. But that's been playing out in my mind all week, Blake.
Yeah.
Because I went away, I came back on vacation a week and a half, and I thought, oh, well, all these RFAs or most of these RFAs will be re-signed by then. Luke Hughes is still out there. Mason McTavish is still out there. The pressure point of training camp starting isn't upon us, but it will be in a week's time.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, Blake, if in a week we're sitting here and Luke Hughes is still unsigned, I'd be very interested. In fact, we're going to have Darren Dreger on here shortly, maybe this Monday. Have the Canucks called New Jersey on Luke Hughes?
Garland, Roenick, and a first.
For Luke Hughes?
Yeah, and maybe you have to take back Dougie Hamilton's salary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Jersey's trying to win,
yeah.
right? So it's got to be right now pieces. It can't be filled with futures.
No,
but yes, like overpace.
Like that's a ridiculous price for Luke Hughes.
Uh-huh.
But maybe that's the only option.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the only.
And if you're asking why not Jack Hughes, well, he doesn't have trade protection. They could take their crack there, but he's under contract for 5 more years, and
he's a better player.
And he's a better player, and of course, if he stays healthy and plays the level that he was when he was healthy, he's a steal as well at $8 million a year. So that would be a very, very difficult move to make. Whereas Luke, I think, is far more realistic. One last thing on this.
Okay.
The answer, anything can change if we have a terrible year. Anything can change. It's an interesting choice of words.
If we have a terrible year.
And then goes on to talk about a terrific year. It almost makes it sound like he's got a decision in mind, but it can change. Anyways, I just thought it was interesting the way he went into that answer. And I may very well be reading too much into it, but hey, that is the exercise right now with Quinn.
Well, the problem with Quinn is he's a thinker. I think he does stew in his thoughts.
He's a Michigan man.
And I think he thinks, he says things that make sense in his own brain that maybe seem a lot more clear when they're coming out because he has the background, but they can be parsed a little bit as we have just done. So whether he's intending on that or not, who knows? But
yeah. Are you surprised at how quickly this file is moving?
Well, it just feels like that maybe after a slow summer with now all of them commenting or both of them commenting on this on multiple occasions now. I think. And
then let me ask you this.
I think it'll die down a little.
And then let me ask you this. If Quinn and his brothers haven't already laid this out amongst the three of them over this summer previously, I guess I was a little surprised not to hear Quinn take the easy off-ramp, the political answer that, of course, so many hockey players and teams are accustomed to providing on sensitive subjects. Hey, I'm under contract for 2 more years. I haven't thought about my future because I'm wholly focused on this season. Last year was a failure. We've got to be better. I'm the captain, and all of my energies and efforts are into making the Vancouver Canucks the best they can be for 2025-2026. I'll have more to say about my contract and my future after the season. Is that not the full stop sign to any?
Yep, I think there's a chance that happens.
Well, but he didn't answer the question, any of those questions this way this week. Way this week.
No, but I think
why not?
The more that he gets asked about it, he may get to that point.
But the cat's out of the bag, Blake.
Mm-hmm. No, but he understands being asked about it at the get-go. I think on the 15th to 25th time.
No, but that answer works just as well now as it does on the 15th time.
Yeah, I just don't think he can forecast. He was forecasting in his mind how annoying this is going to get.
How could he not? He knew. Last week he was talking about the noise and what was coming.
No, he knows that it's going to be there, but I think the magnitude and the volume.
He knew he was going on
you.
The media tour. He knew the national media cared less about, hey, who are you going to partner with? Well, how about Roenick and you? And you knew this question was coming.
Mm-hmm.
The Canucks knew this question was coming. His agent knew this question was coming. His dad, his brothers knew this. Everybody knew this question was coming.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that crafted diplomatic answer. It was an answer that was a little pithier.
Yeah, I mean, I would have written it out differently if I was his
PR consultant,
dad, agent, Canucks, PR, coach. Anything like. I would have written it out differently. But
and honestly,
he's his own man.
That don't tend to like those answers in this line of work, but would have felt a lot better about Quinn's future with the Canucks if I had heard that answer than what I did hear this week.
By the way, to those saying that was way too much for Luke, yeah, that's the point.
That is way too much for Luke.
That's the point. It's exactly right. It's too much.
Yep, way too much.
But a nice fair deal to the Devils for Luke Hughes, they will laugh at the Canucks.
Exactly.
It has to be
they're not going to give away their Hughes leverage.
No. They see a real path to collect everybody there.
You basically have to show Tom Fitzgerald, we are giving you a golden ticket in the Stanley Cup playoffs towards a Stanley Cup championship for Luke Hughes.
Yeah. We're gonna jumpstart your playoff and cup aspirations.
Hell yeah. We're not just going to give it a springboard. We're going to give it a trampoline.
We'll see.
I am so looking forward to being in Penticton next week. You know how much I love Penticton. You know how much I like seeing Mike and John and Gil and all our friends at Yellow Dog and Neighborhood.
I'm looking forward to testing this at Neighborhood. Mm-hmm. The High Key Tangerine and Pineapple IPA, because I believe that we'll still get summer weather when they're up there, and a nice fruity IPA. Yes, please. Loud burst of tangerine, pineapple, and a whole lot of tropical energy, backed by a bold trio of Crush Nectaron and HBC 1019 hops. Oh, You thought the 1018s were good. The HBC 1019s, even better. It's dripping in citrus and Sweet Island vibes. This isn't just another IPA, folks. It's your main character moment in a can. The High Key Tangerine Pineapple IPA.
We've got our tea times next week. I got texted last night.
It's good.
We'll be playing in different groups. I see enough of you.
Yeah, please.
J-Pat, he's written for Canucks Army. And one of Jeff's great gifts is wielding the math of an NHL season. I have met few hockey reporters who can wield the math and make it as digestible and understandable for non-math people like myself as Jeff. And Jeff will tell you, I'm the son of a mathematician. Comes by it honestly. And so when we have Jeff on the show, and we got Jeff tomorrow, I think we'll ask him to review his backup goaltender theory for us in terms of how many games and wins and points a backup goaltender has to provide for playoff teams. But J-Pat was at it on Canucks Army with the home record. And you may remember, everybody, despite all the bullshit that happened with the Vancouver Canucks last year, Miller, Pettersson, the injuries, Demko and others, the poor construction of that defense core to start the season, poor seasons from Nils Höglander, Dakota Joshua, the guys who underachieved. The Vancouver Canucks make the playoffs if they're simply a mid team at home at Rogers Arena.
Yeah.
Like a few more wins at Rogers Arena, which not a huge ask. They're in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Maybe they go no further, but they have their puncher's chance in round one.
It felt like it was a 78-point season. It was a 90-point season. Mm-hmm. One little bit of a normalcy at home, and they're in, despite all the noise and all the craziness.
17, 16, and 8. And while you can look at that flatly and say, oh, that's above 500, no. That's 24 losses on home ice against 17 wins.
17 times.
Out of 42, the patrons went home happy.
Exactly. 17.
Their home record was only superior to the Chicago Blackhawks and the San Jose Sharks, who right now are the standard bearers for terrible NHL franchises. Every other team in the league was better on home ice, including another collection of pitiful clubs were better than Vancouver. So J-Pat has done the math and says anything less than 23, 15, and 3, that's 49 points at home, would be a disappointment for the hockey club and its fans. My question to you is 49 points enough? Do you need to see more? Because they actually were a pretty good road team last year. And that tends to be a little bit more difficult to do year over year.
Well, I'm, you can improve your home record, but you also don't want to rob from your road record. Like the Canucks found a way somehow to be a decent road team last year. So it's, who cares if they just flip-flop and all of a sudden become a good home team, but now become a terrible road team. The object here is to try to improve the home record and remain a pretty decent road team. Like it's crazy making how bad they were on home ice last year, given out on the road they seem to be performing at a pretty adequate level. So that's going to be the curiosity for me going forward is, do they do things differently to right the ship at home, only it costs them on the road, or are they able to maintain? And I don't know how much of a connective tissue last year to this year's really going to have in those kinds of things, because with the new head coach and new coaches, I think there's going to be a generally different approach to every single game. And I don't know that we can necessarily say it's a continuation.
Canucks were 21-14-6 on the road last year.
Which
even when you add the overtime and shootout losses is above 500. 2 years ago at home when they won the Pacific, 27-9-5. Love that single digit in the middle column, huh?
Do you have the road record for that year?
Is taking care of business.
The road record in the playoff year?
Their road record in 23-24.
Yeah.
I have it. Give me a brief second. It was 23-14-4.
Is that
Which is really...
Is that the same? Almost 21-14 and something? It was the other one? Yeah. Almost the same road record. So,
which is their road record 2 years ago is what Jeff is saying is the absolute baseline bar for the home record this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's fair.
And look, it's September. It's optimistic time of year, right? Glass half full. Everyone's a contender, or at least thinks they are. So point your attention to another Canucks Army article with editor-in-chief David Quadrelli, of course, at the controls. But Stéphane Roger, which big names might be buyable if the Canucks are contending at the 2026 trade deadline? We too early for this? Thought I'd sprinkle in some rainbows and butterflies. Marty Necas. He brings up Malkin. And I know you've poo-pooed Malkin in the past because you say Malkin is done as a player. And yes, we'll see where Malkin's at February, March. But you know these guys and their Pittsburgh love, right? Malkin has a renaissance. Is he coming here as a deadline addition?
Potentially. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. That's one that made sense to me.
And even if it's a
Pajot, Schmaltz, there's some others out there who are it's a really great UFA class for next summer, everybody. Of course, not all of them are going to get to unrestricted free agency. But it is such a deep class right now that I think just on law of averages, I think you're going to have a couple of really, really good players who get to the trade deadline, do not have an extension, kind of like Rantanen last year, right?
Yeah.
I would not be surprised to see a Rantanen or two, that sort of profile of player that is up for the discussion when it comes to the NHL trade deadline because they aren't willing to re-sign and their indigenous clubs are going to have to make the tough decision that Colorado made last year or the one that Toronto made with Mitch Marner.
I would venture to say that if the Canucks are a playoff team and it's even just a middling year for Geno Malkin, I think they go after him. I don't think it needs to be a great renaissance year per se. If he's halfway decent, I think they'll bring him in.
Yeah, here's the other thing, and this one has flown so much more under the radar, and I think that's a function of being in a non-hockey market, in a non-traditional hockey market. Jack Eichel in Vegas. He's in the same boat right now.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of noise there too.
No, but there isn't.
No, there is. There's
noise. Comparatively speaking, there isn't.
Yeah, he's down the power rankings.
Function of non-traditional hockey market.
Yes.
And, of course, they've won a cup there. Mission accomplished. Fly the banner.
Mm-hmm.
Our buddy Dave Hall, also of Canucks Army, is out there watching the Vancouver Canucks prospects go through their paces. Talked about this yesterday. They have a prospect showcase replacing the Young Stars tournament in Penticton down in Everett and Seattle this weekend. They'll face the Kraken prospects. We were a little surprised to see D. Petey's name as a participant. He is skating with Tom Wielander on a defense pair at this practice prior to the showcase.
I would take the line. That is a defense pair for minimum one game this year.
For sure.
I would take that.
For sure. Blake, I could see that as the locked-in third pair by March.
Yeah, if they trade somebody away,
or if these guys just outperform.
Yep, that's possible
the
too.
Forberts and others of the world.
Yep.
Braden Coots, their first-round pick, a Seattle Thunderbird, going back to play junior hockey, so he'll be in familiar digs there in Seattle and Everett, is centering a line with Jonathan Lekkerimäki and Vilmer Ulriksson, the towering Swede we talked about the other day.
That's pretty fun, too.
Yep, a lot of fun there. Sawyer Minio, good defense prospect for the Canucks, Canadian World Junior. Kirill Kudryavtsev playing the right side. Interesting. That helps your utility, right?
Yep.
Got a couple of games in the NHL last year after a fantastic debut season for the AHL Calder Cup champion Abbotsford Canucks under Manny Malhotra.
So those
Son,
four,
if you can play a little bit of right side, that's going to help your lot in life, your ability to be sticky on an NHL roster spot.
Those four, what's your confidence? Pettersson, Wielander, Minio, Kudryavtsev. How many are National Hockey League players with the Vancouver Canucks? Not this year, just within the next three sort of thing.
So there's an old saying in baseball with baseball prospects, if you think you have four pitchers, you really have two.
Mm-hmm. That's too safe an answer, isn't it?
It is too safe an answer. Here's what I'll say. I'll say three.
Yeah. I think three is the answer.
Three is, and three would be it's outstanding.
It would be outstanding. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, four is just.
I mean, we're cheating a little bit.
Angels are looking after you.
We're cheating a bit on Pettersson because I think he's kind of shown already.
He is an NHL. For me, Elias Pettersson, D. Petey, Jr., he is an NHL. That's why I'm so surprised to see him at this prospect showcase.
Wielander, people are loving it's just skates, but people are just saying he's skating differently. He looks differently.
He just looks like some guys have a look like they were born to skate.
Yeah.
At the high end, that looks like Scott Niedermayer. I'll tell you a guy who I thought just looked as good, as stylish as any skater I've ever. Do you remember Brett Hedican?
Yeah,
how he skated.
Yeah,
the former Canucks defenseman. Of course, he married Yamaguchi, the figure skater.
Yeah, the two of them.
Honestly, their children should be skating prodigies. But first few times I watched Hedican live skating, I was like, oh my God. Like, that guy looks like he was born for this act.
Yeah.
And Wielander has a little bit of that. So, and for me, Kudryavtsev made such strides last year. And the other thing with Kudryavtsev, Blake, and I think this probably applies to DPD as well, is you ask me for NHL players, they both just seem to have that, you know what, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do my primary job, do your job, if Belichick speak, defend, and let the chips fall.
Yeah.
Like that, there doesn't need to be anything fancy. There doesn't need to be any sort of trying to play outside of your limitations. It's knowing your game. It's playing your game. And typically coaches and managers view that fondly and find roles for
And the reason I bring in Minio, too, is players that so quickly outkick their draft coverage, that's a really good sign.
It's a super sign.
So it's one thing to do it 5 years post-draft, but to do it so quickly, that's a good sign for Sawyer Minio, too.
Now, the other NHL soap opera we've dipped toe on this week in discussing is that of Kirill Kaprizov in Minnesota, the Russian winger who reportedly, according to Frank Saravelli, turned down more money than any hockey player has ever been offered. $16 million a year over 8 years, like $150 million. What was the total value? It was the largest contract offer, according to Frank, in terms of AAV and of total money. RG Media, reporter there saying he has been asked for his trade list Cam Robinson, our buddy, is calling that premature. But look, that is the next place this is going, right? If you say no to the most money ever, like how much more can the Minnesota Wild go where you can say yes, or is it just about wanting to play somewhere else? And as we talked about yesterday, that could have a pretty big trickle-down effect, both for Minnesota and for any team that would be interested in acquiring Kaprizov for this season. That could shake loose some players.
Who knows what the ramifications of that would be? The ripple effects.
That's a huge deal, Blake. Oh, my God.
It's
even on the 1 year, even just for the 1 year, I mean, that is a hefty
any part of you
trade.
feel bad for the small market of Minnesota? That they get an elite superstar?
No, not in the least. Not in the least.
Cold-blooded.
No.
Hey, Vancouver's about to go through it potentially too, so yeah.
Yeah.
Brothers in arms to some degree.
No, I can't say I have any love for Minnesota. No.
If you've been there.
I've been there once. It was unremarkable. I mean, the owner got delivered that franchise after he did his best in Nashville and didn't sell it to Jim Balsillie. It was a classic Gary quid pro quo.
Yeah.
Oh, Craig, please don't sell your franchise to that Canadian BlackBerry billionaire who wants to move it to Hamilton. And if you don't, and you hang in there and you lose more money and we find you a different owner, we'll deliver you a franchise that's for sale upcoming. And it turned out to be Minnesota.
Now, here's the thing.
Then you have Guerin, who frankly got on the wrong side of me during Four Nations. That could have been my patriotism speaking. But,
yes. But you see,
the
Wild are not going to get
in Boston.
The Wild are not going to get the same as Quinn Hughes on the trade market
For Kaprizov?
Yeah,
It's not his value. He's a winger.
No, he's a winger,
and he doesn't have 2 years. Yeah.
Like that's what we're saying. Hey, nobody wants the Quinn Hughes trade, but
no, but Blake, that's the point here. Your point is instructive. Minnesota has already lost leverage here.
Mm-hmm.
And they particularly lost even more leverage when Frank came out and said he'd turn down all this money.
Yeah.
Now everybody knows the score there.
And
it may just be he wants every last dollar. And if that's the case, well, okay. But if you're saying no to $16 million a year in Minnesota, are you saying yes to $17 million a year? Like, is an extra $8 million at that point really the deciding factor?
Also, when a winger gets offered the richest contract in NHL history, that should usually be a yes.
You're a winger.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I do wonder, and it's coming from a biased position here from somebody in Vancouver. Is 1 year not enough for these UFAs to begin negotiations? Like, should you get a 2 year window? Should the deadline to start extension talks be 2 years out?
Can you do it like baseball and football, where you just rip up the existing contract and you do a new one at any point?
Yeah, I mean that's better for the players.
Oh,
isn't
it certainly is. Yeah, Gary didn't want that.
But the halfway
Gary wanted to lock them into their commitment and make sure that there was no ability to renegotiate off a great year. I mean, you see it all the time with these receivers, right? They got 2 years left on their deal, but they had 100 catches and 12 touchdowns. I want a new contract now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to camp, or I'm going to camp but not participating in a.
And that's a slippery slope. But if you said any contract 4 years and above or 5 years and above in length, you get to, and maybe that's an incentive to lock up guys long term, which is better for the league. Any long term deal, you get the 2 year negotiating window, not just the 1 year.
Yeah. Well, I'm afraid your idea dies on the writ dies here because the CBA has been signed.
Yeah, no, it's not happening here.
It doesn't have that provision.
Now. No. Next time around.
They really should consult with him.
Not the first time we said it.
Lastly, it is the first time
You've said it,
I said it too. I wanted to note this from Monday when we saw all the Canucks out at the Milford and they were talking. Did you see the ball caps that Besser and Pettersson were wearing?
No.
Mike, can you bring those up? Look at how beautiful those hats are. I'm a baseball cap guy. I love them.
Yeah, simple, but nice.
That's what I love, is
Yeah.
I love the simplicity. You get the team name and the logo there on the front. It's not busy around the sides or at the back or anything like that. Nice shape. One base color. It's the other thing I like. Base color. Those things are beautiful.
Maybe if the Canucks ever did another special edition game, they could do a logo like that.
Well, if those hats are kicking around the team store or anywhere else, and we start seeing them on the streets and in the arena, that's a good look. That's really well done. Plus, look at how happy Brock looks.
And PD.
Look at how happy Brock looks.
Maybe the smile will come back for Pettersson this year. Remember that?
You got to hope so. You remember the joyous kid we first saw here in year one? How much
after
fun he was
goal
at
one?
first goal. He's looking up at the scoreboard. He sees people are chanting his name, and he's just trying to repress the smile because it's all too much. Halcyon days.
I hope they win 7 of their first 11 games, and there's enough vibes to start.
Yeah, we need good vibes. We absolutely need good vibes. People ask me all the time, who do you cheer for? And I say, well, I don't tend to cheer for teams. There are people I know around the league, and I like nice things to happen to them. But I am absolutely cheering for the Canucks to get off to a good start and just bring some positive vibe back to the fan base. Really, what I enjoy about when the Canucks are winning is watching all the people in my life indulge in it.
Yeah.
Like when Carmen wants to watch games with me. 2 years ago, Blake, she was back watching games with me. It had been 7 years since we sat down and watched games outside of the bubble playoffs the one year. Mostly it's, the Canucks are on, you watch in that room, I'll be over here watching
but a good start,
some yachting show.
A good start can set you up for weeks, if not months. Like I think about the Whitecaps. They got off to a great start. They've been middling for about 3 months, but we still think of them in pretty nice complimentary terms because they surfed on that wonderful start. If the Canucks can do something like that, get off to a good start. And then if you're 500 for another 6 weeks, it doesn't matter. The record will still look okay.
And we talked about it. Calgary, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Nashville. 4 of your first 8 games are against teams that last year missed the playoffs or are altogether terrible. The pathway is there for a good start, Blake.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. Be nice to cover that.
And I sure hope they win that game on October 28th at Rogers Arena against the guys from New York, or the guy from New York.
And EP40 with a couple goals. Can you imagine? At least one goal. Be pretty huge.
Because I'm not sure I can take a JT Miller coming off a win, trying to play it cool in the visitors' dressing room. Because he'll try and play it cool, right? Oh, it's a big 2
game
points
time
for us.
goal. 2
You
minutes.
know that JT Miller will not, if they win that game, will not cop to any kind of extra whatever about the meaning of that win or personally, right?
He would do
He will try and play
a
it as-
Ryan Kessler goal celebration if he scored. Can you imagine?
Yeah, we can't have that.
No.
Prevent JT from doing the Kess. That should be the mission statement going into the game. Let's go to our menu. It's brought to you by Greta, a fantastic spot to catch all the games home and away. To pregame or postgame, you were just steps away from the arena or the stadium. So make your spot. And if you need a venue for a team-building event, a summer sociable, perhaps your ball team's finished up the season, you want to have a party, perhaps the office environment's looking for a space to blow off some steam, they have an outstanding menu of unpretentious street food. They have an arcade filled with fun, games for everybody. For more info to book your event, go to gretabar.com. Don't forget about bottomless wings for $25. Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. We'll talk to Frank Corrado here, the former Vancouver Canuck and TSN hockey analyst. The Quinn Hughes story is so big, he's being asked about it in Toronto on a daily basis.
They're talking about it, he said.
Yeah.
On the air, on a daily basis.
No, he said the last 2 days he's done Sports Center and radio, and what are the topics they want to talk about? They want to talk about Quinn Hughes. And then we'll talk to Rob Williams, the national sports editor of the Daily Hive. Rob catches us up on Seat Beat. He's actually turning Seat Beat. I mean, Seat Beat is almost at a conclusion here.
Yeah.
It's been a long road.
Sad, really.
Jeff Stipik, a name you may have forgotten, but actually ran the Vancouver Canucks at one point before moving on. And there were a lot of business executives in that era that moved on. Come work for the Vancouver Canucks? Yes, great. Oh, God. Okay, what's next? Anyways, Jeff Stipik, who was a terrific guy and a very good communicator, sat with us in our old studio, Blake, 2018?
Mm-hmm.
And said, and we said to him, Jeff, we hear a lot about the seats. People don't like the color, they don't like the fit, they're too old. And he said, well, we'll be replacing the seats. And 7 years later, here we are.
7 years later, yeah.
So, Rob, on all that good stuff, we got Whitecaps and Lions this weekend. Baseball is heating up as well. All that coming up on the program as well. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. Now, I took a future yesterday, Blake. I'm on Green Bay tonight, laying the points.
I took a future as well.
Okay. I'm looking at the Caps game on Saturday.
Okay.
Thomas Muller has had 2+ weeks here to prepare for this game, learn his teammates and MLS. Now, he's got a goal from the spot. He's still awaiting his first from open play. You'll remember he scored shortly after he came on in his debut. He opened his account, but it was called back on offside.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at the Caps to win, but they're plus 110. There's not a lot of value there against a really good Philadelphia team. In fact, Philadelphia plus 200 might be
a good
if you're a believer in rust, not rest. Later in the year, I'm a bigger believer in rest, but okay, rest could be a thing. But Muller to score is plus 200. They're likely without Gold. They're likely without White. He should take every opportunity, right?
For sure.
When you've got those two guys who, if they're not going to be on the pitch, and I can't imagine they're both on the pitch playing 90.
Nope.
Then if you're Thomas Muller, I think you should look around and understand, I've got to be the guy who shoots. So Muller at plus 200 to score.
I'll look at the other BC place tenant taking on the Ottawa Red Blacks and what they hope is the revenge match.
I mean, this is almost a must-win for them.
The problem for me is the Lions are overwhelming favorites.
Yeah.
Red Blacks to win is I don't think the Red Blacks sweep the Lions, but I get 9.5 points. That's just too many. I'm going to take the Red Blacks in what I hope is a Lions victory, but a victory for me as well, plus 9.5.
This segment, a presentation of Bet365, whatever your bet. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game. Use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Frank Corrado coming up next. Cigars and Price from the historic Wall Center. The best place aren't just on the ice or on the field. Stay downtown at the Wall. Enjoy an exclusive Cigars and Price rate. Call 604-331-1000. Tell them we sent you. May even be some perks there. But some blackout dates apply based on availability. Frank Corrado has stayed at the Wall Center before. In fact, he stays here when he comes to play Canucks alumni events. The former Vancouver Canuck and TSN hockey analyst. How are you?
I'm good, fellas. What's going on?
Oh,
just counting down, man. Just counting down.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's
To the departure of Quinn Hughes.
well, yeah.
Well, that's all
You thought
we're
I meant
talking
hockey?
about.
No, not hockey.
I was going to say, like, I think we should develop an equation in terms of The amount of coverage the Canucks get on Toronto media outlets typically correlates with things going poorly for the franchise, right? Like 2 years ago, they won the division. They were terrific for most of the year. I'm guessing they found their way seeped into some Toronto hockey coverage, but I'm going to guess there was more Vancouver Canucks coverage last year, and we're already off on that foot. Frank, tell us about your last couple of days and what people have been asking you there.
Yeah, it's when you get sound bites and quotes, it's go time. Especially this, we don't have that much to talk about. So if you're gonna give something to us, so the last 2 days I've done Sports Center. I've done the day, the 6 p.m. show, and last night I was on with Jay. And all we're talking about is the Hughes brothers. And obviously we're talking about the Canucks. And like my kind of angle was what would need to go right for the Vancouver Canucks to make this a non-topic. And even if all those things did happen, I don't think there's a guarantee that Quinn Hughes is sticking around. Like the question that I got twice yesterday on mainstream coverage, should Canucks fans be worried? Yeah. Of course Canucks fans should be worried because things can go exactly to plan and it just might not be enough, unfortunately. But I don't know where you guys stand with it, but I kind of picked 3 things that I think need to go right this year for it to have a chance of Quinn Hughes sticking around. And I said, the first thing is Adam Foote needs to have the team playing like detailed, playoff caliber hockey, right? And that includes them getting offense and scoring goals. Number 2, pretty obvious. Elias Pettersson has to play like a number 1 center, worth the value of his contract. Doesn't have to be a 100-point player right away, but point per game type guy. And your franchise goalie in Demko has to be in the net and be available and look like he will be available for the long term. Because when he is, he's one of the best goalies in the NHL. Unfortunately, though, and you guys can tell me if you think different, I think if all those 3 things go exactly according to plan, it's still not like even 95%, 90% that Quinn Hughes is going to be a Canuck for a long time after the contract.
Yeah, because even if those 3 things go right, Frank, I'm not sure this is a cup contender. Playoff team? Sure. But cup contender. And, we've been talking about it this week. McDavid, not signed in Edmonton, right? Who knows what's going on with Kaprizov in Minnesota, but you're seeing star players, much like their brethren in the NBA, take a firmer hand in terms of their future where they play and be a little bit more inclined to chase rings than should just accept their lot in NHL mid-pack life.
Yeah, and the other thing is there might not be anyone on the Canucks with the last name Hughes. And that might just be the deal breaker right there.
For sure.
And Stanley Cup contender or not, if they have it in their minds that they all want to play together, you can do the math and figure out that the most likely scenario for that to happen is in New Jersey based on when Quinn's contract is expiring. So I don't know. I think it's going to take up a lot of oxygen. It'll take up less oxygen if the Canucks are good this year. Like winning cures everything, right? Like we've talked about that. And then at some point down the road, I'm sure we're going to get into the conversation. It might not be this year. Maybe it will. What do they do if they're not getting any kind of certainty that he's going to be back? If the Canucks are a bad team in 2 years, it's pretty obvious. You're going to trade them. You're going to try and acquire whatever you can. What if they're good? What if the stars align the way they did 2 years ago, and you're like, we might have to keep this guy as an own rental and then see if we can trade him a la Mitch Marner style before July 1st. Like that's I think we're living in a world between where we are now and that is potentially an end point if he doesn't decide to stay with Vancouver long term.
My one Hail Mary pass for the Canucks would be this. What if you can convince him to sign a 3-year extension only to line up with Jack? And this is reportedly what Luke maybe wants to do as well, is line up all the free agency years together. Do you think that's a possibility the Canucks could go to him? And I think still a lot of the things that you brought up have to come to fruition too. I think the direction still needs to be clear. progression for the team, all that still needs to be there. Can they convince him to sign a 3-year extension in a year's time and say that way you're all free agents at the same time you guys are the authors of your future?
It's not a bad point. It's really not a bad point. It may, like, I don't know, maybe it might seem a little bit pie in the sky to think that guys are going to say, leave some guaranteed money and certainty on the table, because then you can drive your own bus with your brother, when the time comes. But maybe that is the thing that you're clinging on to. It is. I mean,
he's going to get $18 million a year anyway, right? So, like,
exactly, he's going to. It's
not like he's going to be poor.
Yeah. And think about this. Okay, to your point, like I'll try and build off your point there. If you do that, league is in a very healthy place. Players are paying 0% escrow right now. That's very different from when I was in the league, and we were essentially giving back anywhere between 15 to 13% of our salaries every year. It's not happening right now. So they're in a good place. Expansion might, happen at some point, like in the next 5 years, and they're going to have more money coming in. The salary cap's going to go up even more. So it's not that far-fetched. I think it really just comes down to what's your appetite for staying in Vancouver for, that would, I guess, 5 more years.
He'd be 30, Jack could be 29.
Yeah.
You still have game left. Like you guys could, Jack and Quinn and potentially Luke could all go somewhere and all still be
Quinn Hughes
in their prime.
Quinn Hughes at 30 years old is still going to be an absolute monster. And honestly, maybe even more. Like maybe at 30, he's like a man strength. You know
Savvy.
What I mean? Like, yeah. It's not at 30 years old for a defenseman. You're kind of hitting your peak. That's the way I see it.
As long as you're healthy.
Yeah.
And you know that struggle.
Yeah,
too,
I know
so,
that.
Yeah.
Is there any part of you who is reading the tea leaves and saying, if I was Rutherford Alvin, I'm just cutting bait now. I'm making the best possible trade I can for Quinn Hughes, who's going to return a whole load of assets and give me at least a different course for this franchise where this does not hang over us.
Because, Frank, right now he is the first or second best defenseman on the planet. So you there's no risk
on a good contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess the issue is you have to make that deal with the Devils. Right, you can't make that deal with anyone else because they're in the same boat that Vancouver is going to be in at the expiration of that deal. So you're not getting true market value for a player of Quinn Hughes' caliber.
Unless they're a cup contender right now and a defenseman like this puts them over the top.
2-year window, 2 runs at the Stanley Cup with Quinn Hughes. Not bad.
Yeah. And the thing, I guess, is the money is easily digestible on this deal. It's not going to be on the next one for sure. But I think it almost has the feel that you're throwing in the towel now if you're Vancouver. Like you're not fighting that battle tooth and nail all the way to the very end. And I mean, you guys know, you've covered hockey your whole life. Like guys aren't willing, whether it's players or management, guys aren't willing to say, yeah, we're not going to win this thing. Like guys fight. Like that's what they do. That's how everyone got to this point. That's how players got to this point. Coaches, GMs, tooth and nail, right down to the wire. I think that scenario is probably less likely. I'd put it this way. I would be floored if that happened at this point. I think they're going to do everything they can. And I think the other thing you have to keep in mind with that is there's an ownership group in Vancouver that badly wants to win. That doesn't really send it wouldn't be consistent, I guess, with what we've seen and heard from that department over time.
And I fully agree with that. I just look. You can win without Quinn Hughes. If Quinn Hughes returns you 3 or 4 good players, and suddenly you have a team that doesn't have a Norris Trophy defenseman, but is still winning hockey games, like that works too. You may look at it and say you don't have the star power to beat a Stanley Cup contender. Okay, fair enough. But right now you have the star power, but not the rest of the team to be a Stanley Cup contender. Anyways, I don't envy their situation. It's
no.
The cautionary tale is the Matthew Tkachuk trade, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the cautionary tale.
Well, but even with a player who wanted out of that level, like most people thought Calgary did pretty well on that trade.
In the moment,
when it came,
yeah.
Huberdeau sucked that next year. He was better last year. Uyghur's a good player. And then there were other decent assets attached to that.
The thing that makes it so bad is Florida went out and won 2 Stanley Cups in a row.
That's it.
And they went to the finals 3 years in a row. If Florida had lost in the second round every year, we wouldn't talk about it the way it had been talked about. They did it. They pulled it off to the.
It worked exactly
how
they
exactly.
wanted.
It did. And if same could happen for Quinn if he's moved. But the fact of the matter is like you're more concerned about your club and how it improves or the course it sets your club on. Anyways, we'll see where this goes. Elias has gained 13 pounds in the off season.
I believe that's 6 kilos.
Yes, that's true.
Well, 6 kilos. Yeah,
good conversion.
Can I just interrupt you real quickly?
Yeah.
It used to drive me bananas when I went to Europe, and they're like, "Okay, throw 20 kilos on the bar." I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like, what are we talking about here? No one in hockey talks in kilos. This guy comes back. Anyways, I'm happy he's put on 6 kilos. So that's 13 pounds.
The Whitecaps just sent out a video of Thomas Mueller playing golf with the rest of his teammates, and Sebastian Berhalter's like, "You're 167 yards out," and he's like, "What's that in meters?"
Yeah.
And Seb Berhalter's like, I don't know. He's got to change the setting on his scope.
He hits his 8-iron about 150 meters.
Well, that's a great point, because I played when I went to Sweden. I played a round of golf with like the GM and the goalie coach and one of the other players one day, and I go, like, he had the thing. I didn't have my clubs with me, obviously, so he had the gun. He goes, "You're like 150. Take out a 9-iron." Way over the green. I'm like, "You said 150. You go, "Yeah, meters." Anyways,
wow. Frank hits a big ball. That's what I'm learning here.
Sorry, it was the other way around. And
you're short.
You know,
exactly. Yeah,
I flew the green. It wasn't good.
Hey, Frank's hitting 9-iron, $175, $180.
No.
You're like, wow.
Yeah,
you're going to tear up the Redwoods when we bring you there.
No.
What should the added weight and presumably strength do for him, Frank?
I think that, like, the first thing that comes to mind is not getting pushed off pucks, like just not getting squeezed in certain scenarios. Like, you should be able to lean in a little bit more, and extra weight doesn't mean slower. Like, if you got stronger, you should be faster. You should have a little more explosiveness coming out of the gate. So I think those are the two things that I'm going to look for with Pettersson. Not necessarily, like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 strides in. You usually get to your speed. It's just how quickly can you accelerate to it, and I think that's where it's important for him to see if he made some strides when it comes to the speed department. And I think when it comes to just leaning on people, it's not that you got to hit guys. It's just that you have to be able to play through some contact. You do have, like, we don't have the obstruction the way we used to. And even like from 10 years ago, it's not like guys aren't boxing you out. If you're in the corner and you're trying to get to the net, guys aren't boxing you out from the corner anymore. Like, you're getting a good head start before they start cross-checking you and having that confrontation. But you have to be able to work through some of that. And I think that's where we should see the 13 pounds kind of help him this year. I'm curious to see how it goes.
Did you have a summer like this ever? Did you have a summer like this where you put on a ton? And what was that like in the early going?
So the second year I was in Toronto, like the first year I didn't play very much. I played like 39 games, and I kind of got the feeling like I need to get bigger, but I could only get so big. Like, my frame's just not that wide. So I put on 10 pounds. And the 10 pounds I thought at training camp, like, really helped me. The issue for me was, like, keeping it on, because when you skate a lot and you work out, it's like, okay, you eventually kind of slim out to where you were. So that'll be another thing that that'll be a challenge.
He's like you, though. He's the same problem, right? Like, he's not genuinely a wide guy, so this is going to be tough for him.
Yeah.
Was that because of Babcock? The 10 pounds?
100%.
Yes, it was.
100%. I saw him in this when we were, I think we were skating in like August, and he was at the facility one day, and he looked at me. He's like, "You look bigger." I said, yeah, put on 10 pounds. And that was the end of the conversation. He just walked out the door.
What a charmer.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
You know, Frank, if you had stayed in that gym and not been on that golf course hitting 9-iron 150 meters, you may have had a future in Mike Babcock's.
A true conversationalist. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was it.
Great stuff, Frank. You're going to be riding with us Wednesdays all season. We look forward to all of those appearances, including next week. Thank you for this one.
Okay, boys, have a good one.
Sick Harrison Price from the Historic Wall Center. Daily Faceoff has your back with the brand new DFO Fantasy Draft Kit, your one-stop shop for everything you need to build that perfect fantasy hockey team. We're talking player projections, updated line combos, power play units, sleepers, busts, team previews, basically all the tools you need to make your friends look foolish. Whether you're a seasoned vet or a fantasy newcomer, the kit has everything you need to dominate your league. So before you go ahead and make that terrible pick in the 5th round,
because you're unprepared and you're just like, oh, it's my pick. And you just reach out and poke a name.
Exactly.
Without the
or
knowledge.
Your auto draft. You should never auto draft.
No.
Go to dailyfaceoff.com/draft-kit and get your hands on the fantasy draft kit. Fantasy hockey domination starts at dailyfaceoff.com. Here's Rob Williams, the national sports editor of the Daily Hive and its Offside Sports vertical. Rob, the hockey guy on social media. Hello, Robert. How are you?
Doing great, Matthew. How are you, Blake?
Fantastic.
Are you drafting? Are you pooling? Are you fantasy guy these days? Or are you just too busy?
You know what? There was a year where I was in like multiple pools, and I just found it confusing. Like, so I'm a one pool guy now. So I'm in a.
Got you.
I'm in it. Actually, well, I'm in sort of two. I'm in an NFL fantasy pool. Where I pick the players, and then I'm in one where I pick 5 games a week. So that's sort of another pool, but it's not typically conflicting, right? I don't like it when I'm in one where it's like, okay, I'm cheering for this guy. Oh wait, no, but that's bad for this pool and good for that pool.
Yeah, that would be.
And then I'm usually in, and then I'm usually in one hockey pool as well.
Okay.
People, you know what? Here's the thing. People expect me to win them, and like I've got people that if they're in another pool, they'll ask me for advice on things, and I'm like, yeah, like, I mean, I'd be in a lot of pools if I won them all. Like, it's not like I'm winning them all, right?
I'm in 2 fantasy baseball leagues. I am the only person of the 24 who has ever covered baseball. I've been in them for more than 20 years apiece. I think I'm a combined 0-46. So I assure you, it does not provide any advantage whatsoever. Rob, I was nearly stopped in my tracks when I saw that you have turned over seat beats to your new Canucks sports reporter, Trevor Beggs, just when this story is coming to a head, a culmination. Rob, what can you tell us
so
about
frivolous. Did you just throw it away like this?
Wow. I can only imagine the angst. What is the latest at Rogers Arena on the new black seats?
Well, I do keep a close eye on those. Are heavily edited pieces when we do the seat beat, right? Like that's
capital E.
I hope so. Those eagle-eyed.
I try not to micromanage, but I must admit on the seat beat, I keep that. That's
Fair.
close.
That one is a line in it, each and every one.
Well, I tried to get confirmation from the Canucks about are they on track? Where are they at? I mean, they haven't really, divulged much. So I guess we'll find out once players are back on the ice at Rogers Arena later this month. But photos that are surfacing from the arena, like we're seeing, it looks like it's mostly done. Like it looks like it's like nearing completion. So I do think we're gonna see all black seats ready for certainly for opening night and probably for preseason as well. I do wonder if there's a little bit of maroon. I mean, I wore the maroon shirt here. I mean, appropriately, right? Like
R.I.P.
As the last of the maroon seats depart Rogers Arena.
Is it made of the maroon seats? Is that sweater made of?
Is that the same upholstery, Rob?
Okay, guys, I got offered. Okay, I know that. Remember, they were selling the seats.
Yes,
yeah, we sure do.
And I was like, I've got to get one of these things.
It
so
would be
I
appropriate.
did have a season ticket member like reach out and was like, "Hey, I can I can hook it up, like I can get one of these seats."
You up?
So I had,
Black market maroon seats.
I'll meet you in an alley off Hastings.
and I thought about it, and you have to bolt it to a wall. And I just thought that's.
And Chelsea was like, "Don't you dare bring that into our home."
That's not going to go over. That's not going to go over well with Chelsea. So I'm like, okay, where am I actually going to put this thing? So, and I thought, do I really want this thing? I don't know.
What do you think it's going to
look? It'd make great social media content.
Well, think of the content, Rob. All the times when the Canucks were playing poorly, like you could go back to the old seat. Like, I remember watching a team like this from a seat like this.
We've only been able to imagine, and there are other arenas around that have full black seats. I think Staples Center is black, but the difference there is Staples Center is vast. It feels like a football stadium when you're in it. What's it going to, in the tighter confines of Rogers Arena, what do you think it's going to look like? Is it going to make it look bigger, smaller? Do you think it's going to have a direct difference on how the place feels?
I think it's going to be far less noticeable when there's an empty seat, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Like I think it will camouflage that a little bit better. I don't think you're going to notice it too much at all. I think it probably is a little bit more seamless if they went with. I think those arenas that go with the really bold, bright colors, I think those ones can really stand out. Always think back to whatever they were thinking in Boston when they opened what was it called, the
Checkerboard
Fleet Center
there
back in those days, and they had the yellow seats, and those really stuck out. No, I think it's going to look fine. I'm a little disappointed they didn't opt for something really cool, like a cool design, like the Oilers have the big oil drop in the stands, like to have something that really look cool when the arena's empty and that sort of thing. Yeah, the finger thing means the money. Yeah, that's
costs
right.
money, Rob. Yeah. Black, all black. Oh, you want a palette of orange or yellow or no? That'll cost more money. I gotta say, Rob, we did not do a lot on Elias Pettersson getting married. We had the conversation with you back in the summer when you guys were writing that. Is he married? He's wearing a wedding ring and all that. And then when we finally found out that, yes, in fact, he is married and here's the bride. Like 10, 15 years ago, I think if we were doing that segment, Blake, we would have got a lot of like, who cares? What are you doing? Talking about Canucks' personal life in America. Now, just the Instagram generation, they're so accustomed to knowing everything about someone, including what they had for lunch and dinner. I'm interested to know, like, what were the metrics on the Elias Pettersson marriage thing at the Daily Hive? Was that as big a story as you thought it would be when we talked in August?
Yeah, of course. I mean, people want to know this stuff, right? I do get a chuckle out of these kinds of things sometimes where maybe I'll post something about, oh, so-and-so's announced that they're having a baby or they're married, and every now and then there'll be like someone that'll be like, who cares? And they'll reply with that. And they're always replying to like the most engaged social media posts. It's like the answer is
thousands of people, tens of thousands of people.
Look, Elias Pettersson, for all the drama, for all the everything that's happened with him in the last year and a half, like this is a beloved player in the city. Like people love this guy. They want him to succeed. They want to know what's going on with him. They want to know, what's happening in his personal life and just everything. They're interested, right? They're invested in the player. They're invested in the person. So why wouldn't they want to know? What's happening with them. I thought that was interesting. I did think I was waiting for the call for the emergency pod. It never came. It happened on an S&P off day.
Yeah.
I was waiting by my phone, but it never rang.
It's a little different when Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift get engaged versus this guy who didn't even want to mention it in his first media availability.
What was your highlight of the summer? Doesn't mention marriage. Didn't you get married? Oh yeah, best day of my life. Monotone.
He's a private guy, right?
He never used to be a private guy, and then he was told by someone in the hockey culture, stop posting to Instagram. We don't do social media in this league.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's to each their own, and he's well within his rights to be as private as he wants to be. But I think he would do himself some favors if he was just went with it a bit more, right? like best of your life, it should be an easy thing to talk about. It should be like a happy thing to talk about. But again, that's his choice. That has nothing to do with his play on the ice. And if he wants to stick to hockey, fair play.
Something that is less happy. Quinn Hughes asked point blank about chances of re-signing in Vancouver. Can't say yes, speaks in past tense. What did you make of the captain's answer to a very pointed question?
Yeah, I mean, he's not really, everything he's kind of saying is everything we've been saying, for the last few months about this situation, that it certainly sounds like next year is going to matter, right? Like what happens next year? What is the direction of the franchise? That's all going to matter.
But Rob, if that was true, if that was true, wouldn't he have just said, "Yeah, of course, there's a chance"?
Yeah, that's the
free
part
to
that's
say.
troubling me.
So.
It's free to say. It's also like, a chance. That is such a low
bar.
sliver. Yeah.
I didn't read into it that way. Like in terms of just like I thought that he kind of answered in a way that described it as there's a chance. Like what's going to happen. Like he described like how everything was going like a year ago, and described the way I read into it was like, hey, if everything was going like it was going a year ago, I'd be much more likely to resign versus if things go like they went last season, maybe not so much. So I do wonder about that. I feel like I don't know if I'm reading into it or too much or not, but it did sort of feel like, okay, hey, yeah, they want to play together eventually. Whether that's in 2 years or if they kick the can down the road, I don't know. I did think the one thing that was brought up that I think was a really good point is, if Quinn joins the Devils, like, is this a good thing for Luke Hughes? Young player, young offensive defenseman, really trying to make his mark in the league. Okay, now he's on PP2, right? So it might be good for Jack and Quinn, but is it good for Luke? So I do wonder, like, hey, maybe does that affect things? Does Quinn go, okay, maybe, for Luke's case and for Luke's sake, that maybe we do this, maybe we do this in a few more years down the road, and Quinn signs a short-term deal, and then they can revisit it. I don't know.
Lastly, Rob, you're still holding a candle for Jack Roslovic. Explain.
I know there's like been, somewhat conflicting reports, I guess, there about the level of interest from the Canucks. I do sort of wonder when I hear like, oh, okay, yeah, no, the Canucks are not really that interested in him. Is that sort of, is it a game of poker right now where, Roslovic maybe it'd be a good fit in Vancouver? I mean, Canucks management reportedly really liked Roslovic in the past.
Yeah.
So like, where did that just go away? Are they not a fan of him all of a sudden? Maybe they see him as a winger. Maybe they don't think of him as a true bona fide center. But wouldn't he be a nice backup plan? Like everyone's kind of penciling in Atu Ratu for that third line center role. We don't know if he's ready for that. That might be Teddy Bluger's spot. We're gonna have to wait and see there. But then also, even if Ratu's ready, one injury, and now what's your center situation like? It's nice to have a backup plan that's on the wing that can shift into the middle if you need. And the part for me, though, is just that if management was a fan of him before, why wouldn't they be a fan of him now? And obviously the price, you're going to get him at a bargain, right? Like nobody waits until September and then signs.
I think it's the price.
And then signs a really lucrative deal. This is going to be a short-term bargain contract.
This sounds like Lankinen. This sounds like Lankinen.
It sounds like Lankinen, but also the last flurry we had on this story, you'll remember the reporting was the Canucks are dead set on their price, and if Jack Roslovic wants to sign that deal, they are more than happy, but they are not budging, very much like the hardball they played with Lankinen. But we talked about it yesterday, a 1 year, $875,000 deal for Lankinen. I would expect it's something similar for Roslovic.
$2 million 1 year?
I'm not even sure it's $2 million at this point.
Really? Wow.
Well, I mean, it's September 11th.
Yeah.
How I mean, camp start next week.
If you get a 1 year deal under $2 million for Jack Roslovic, I endorse. For the first time, I endorse.
Yeah. All right. Rob, we're just getting started here. So much work to do. We look forward to having you on, and of course the coverage of you and Trevor Beggs here on the Canucks. Appreciate this, buddy. Until next week.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
So, Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. Win and they're in. Vancouver Whitecaps FC can clinch a 2025 MLS playoff spot with a win or a draw against the Philadelphia Union Saturday at BC Place. Caps 14 points up on 9th place San Jose with 7 matches to play. The Earthquakes can get to 50 points by sweeping their 5 remaining matches, but Caps already on 49 points. Caps also get in. Listen to this. If San Jose lose or draw versus LAFC, if Salt Lake lose or draw versus Kansas City, or if Colorado loses versus Houston. So they don't even...
They can get helping clinch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That came abruptly. I think in part because the Caps have 2 games in hand on a lot of these teams that we don't sort of understand just how short the runway is now in the MLS regular season. So that's fantastic stuff to be able to clinch this soon out. Good on Jesper Sorensen and his charges. On Monday, we absolutely should be talking about a team that's punched its ticket and is playing for positioning down the stretch.
I'm curious, and I'm not doing this game, so I don't have any insight into it, but, and we're coming off a break, so maybe this won't be true, but, this is a long trip for Philadelphia all the way across the continent. They've got a 5-point...
Late in the season, too.
Yeah, they've got a 5-point cushion in the conference. They've only got a 1-point cushion for the Supporter Shield. And again, in soccer, rotation doesn't mean you're conceding the game. You have to play the long game as a coach in soccer, and you don't always dress your best 11. You don't. You look at the season in totality and make starting 11 decisions based on that. What I'm saying is, do you get Philadelphia's best 11? I don't know. I haven't done enough. Again, I'm not doing this game, so I haven't done enough of a deep dive on Philly and to see where they are. But it'll be curious. With such a long trip, does everybody get on that plane? I don't know.
They have Nashville next week. Nashville is actually a pretty good team.
Top 4 team in the conference.
Exactly.
That game means more to them
than
this one does.
It sure does. So we'll see if Ryan Gauld is good to go. He has been training this week. Brian White has a knock as well, as do the 2 newcomers who they signed just a few weeks ago. So we'll see what Jesper Sorensen puts out there for a starting 11 and who is available for selection off the bench. This caught both of our attention yesterday. The Caps have put out a poster for 2026 season memberships, and there he is, the Raumdeuter himself, Thomas Muller, front and center. We expected that. 4 other players.
Prominently featured.
No Ryan Gauld.
Yeah, and I mean, oversight, just trying to, tap into players that you've been excited about this season. There's a whole lot. I would think you'd find a spot, a token spot, to feature your captain.
Right. Let's remember, he was the big deal, the reason, the engine driving victory, and in a lot of cases, the reason to go to Caps matches because he had been so terrific over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
We've done this with the Canucks before. Sometimes it's departments not talking to each other. Other times it's the sports operations going, this guy isn't actually a guarantee. So maybe leave him out of future messaging. I would hate to see
there has been fans,
but they won without him this year.
Yeah, and I don't think it has anything to do with like if I'm going to go conspiracy theorist at all, which I don't buy in because we've seen him training the last 48 hours here. Some people have speculated online he's done, like his career's done because of this knee injury. I find that hard to believe.
Can I, since we're discussing possibilities here, can I put this to you?
Sure.
It has been such a long and a hard road for Ryan Gauld to get on the Scottish national team. I mean, you remember there were months there that we were going, oh, look at that, Scotland's left Ryan Gauld off the team again. And then he gets there and he actually looks pretty good. Are his fortunes of playing on a Scottish national team and potentially a World Cup enhanced if he goes to Europe or somewhere else where maybe he's playing in a bigger spotlight for the international football crowd than the west coast of Vancouver, of Canada.
See, this is the danger here. There is that school of thought, but then there's also when it swings enough in the direction that you've been discovered. And I think of Pedro Vite, and this was part of his calculus about whether or not to move on to Pumas, a team with an elevated stature in a slightly better league maybe than Major League Soccer, is you risk in a more competitive environment not getting the playing time to show your worth. So Ryan Gaul goes to Europe. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the control that he has here of playing time and domination.
When he's healthy, you know he's going to be in that center midfield. You know he's going to be on the ball. You know he's going to be the straw that stirs.
Right. And so now that he's already got their attention, so he's proven already, they've noticed me. Mm-hmm. I would make no sudden movements or before the World Cup.
Is it a financial thing too, Blake? Like here's the thing. I'm very pleased to see Muller there because Muller's salary is growing exponentially next year for a team that's for sale. So I'm pleased to see Muller there, but it might it be a case of, okay, we've got Muller, we can't afford Gauld, or he's worth more to us to move on, transfer, take the money, or get other players at different positions. I don't know, but yes. A little bit odd, other than the fact that he's missed the full season.
Scotland 1-1 in World Cup qualifying, by the way. So alive, but not dominating.
Yeah, I saw they got a big victory on the weekend.
Mm-hmm. I said 1-1. I mean 1 win, 1 draw. So they're actually undefeated so far through 2 matches.
Although I misspoke, they got a good win on the weekend.
Yes.
And the Canadian men's national team. We talked yesterday, they got these 4 friendlies to finish out 2025, and then I asked Blake, who are we looking at in 2026? This from L'Équipe in France. The French Federation looking to play the United States men's national team and either Mexico or Canada in the March 2026 window. That would be a hell of a test 3 months before the World Cup. Les Bleus.
Coming here, presumably.
It sounds that way.
If you're going to knock off both the North American teams, or 2 North American teams.
And please, Canada Soccer, if the French national team is coming to Canada to play, it's either got to be in our French province or in our best stadium down the road, right?
Yeah.
You're not taking the French team to BMO. I sure hope not.
And this Jesse Marsh crew has already faced France. Remember,
that's right.
0-0 draw, I believe, with France last June. So they've got some history together.
Lions home tomorrow versus Ottawa, trying to bounce back from that loss to the Red Blacks last week. Comeback victory for the Red Blacks last week in our nation's capital. We talked yesterday about how a loss would put them 2 behind. The Lions 2 behind Ottawa and the winner of the Toronto-Edmonton game Saturday for the final playoff spot. A win means they'd remain in that crossover postseason berth in the East, leading Ottawa by 2 games, and either Toronto or Edmonton by 1, or tied with Edmonton if the Elks win, up 2 on Toronto, but ahead on the tiebreaker against the Elks. That's key, everybody, because you do not win tiebreakers against Toronto or Ottawa because you have to have a better record to cross over. They already own the tiebreaker against Edmonton, and that isn't changing by virtue of 2 early season victories over the Elks. They do play again, but the best the Elks can get to is 1-2 against the Lions head-to-head. So you're actually rooting Edmonton against the Argos, I think, here, because I think you have an easier road against the Elks than you do against the 2 Eastern teams for their Indigenous playoff berth. Could still make 3rd in the West, and Winnipeg's got more quarterback injuries, so we'll see. 4 changes to the roster this week. Veteran defensive back Gary Peters returns. Newcomer Bradley Anai, signed just this week, gets right into the game. That tells you how much they need a pass rusher or how much they think of Anai. Kamoko Toure scratched from that defensive end position. Defensive tackle Dwayne Hendricks active, as his international player Thibaut Debaye. In the middle of that D-line, they both missed some practice this week.
And that Anai is playing behind Levi Bell, who they signed August 28th, the former Seahawk training camper. So they're giving this new blood a real chance here.
And I haven't talked to Ryan Rigmater or Neil McAvoy recently, but typically what happens, and CFL GMs now are actually preemptively say these things to cut questions off at the pass. Typically, when you bring in a guy at this time of year, you're looking at him more in terms of next season and how he will fit. So to have two players on the field who have been added recently does say something about the BC Lions, their personnel, and their immediate needs in this playoff chase. We'll see how they do tomorrow at BC Place. Jays lose, M's win. Bad Jeff Hoffman rears his ugly fastball again.
They come back and he ruins it.
Velocity down to a season low 94 miles per hour. Houston wins it in the ninth to stay a game ahead of Seattle in the American League West. Jeff Hoffman has given up 15 home runs this year. Like, if you were a starting pitcher, you'd go, oh, he's giving up 15 home runs.
13 in the
He's
ninth.
a reliever.
Yeah.
He gave up just 14 in the 3 previous seasons combined.
Really? Wow.
M's keep pace with Houston, sweeping St. Louis, 4-2 win in extras, and their bullpen against the Cardinals pitched 16 1/3 innings, did not allow a earned run. Toronto only wishes.
Yeah, can they exchange there?
Yeah. Jays are still 3 up on the Yanks and Sox. Yanks lost last night. Seattle still 1 ahead of Texas, or 1.5 ahead of Texas in the wild card. Texas got a series sweep as well.
I would love to go back. I think it has been a long time since the Jays won 3 or 4 in a row. Like, they just cannot go on any run.
Well, but that's reasonably typical in baseball. Like, the aim is to win 2 out of 3 each series. I hear what you're saying.
You're a first place team. You're vying for the best team in the majors.
Well,
3 or 4 wins in a row.
Here's the thing, though. They got 17 games left. If they go 9-8, the Yankees or the Red Sox have to play really good baseball to catch them. If they go 10-7, the Yankees or Red Sox have to play great baseball, like 14-2 baseball, to beat them. And the Yankees and Red Sox play each other. They start a set here tonight. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be some collateral damage between them. If Blue Jays can just, again, play at a slightly above 500 record, that is not a huge ask.
You got to figure out Tampa. Tampa, for some reason, is their nemesis.
Yeah, well, we've talked about before. Like, the Rays, because of the economic challenges there, have to play a certain way, and it's a way that has caused the Blue Jays fits in the past in terms of the number of pitchers they're going to use. Like, for example, just looking at the transactions today, Tampa sends down 2 relievers, calls up 2 relievers. Why? Because one of the relievers they called up is having an excellent season. I'm like, they sent him down? Well, he still has options. He's not subject to waivers. They use him for a few days. Okay, you're tired. You can't go the next day. You're going down. We'll call up another guy. The do-si-do.
And also, Matt, their feet aren't held to the fire. Nobody
cares.
No one cares. No one's covering them.
That's right. There's no pressure.
No.
6 Blue Jays prospects headed to the Arizona Fall League. If you're not familiar, this is a league that goes on in autumn, typically for top prospects and minor leaguers who have been injured. They need some innings. They need some at-bats. 2 Vancouver Canadians are a part of the Blue Jays group, and the Jays prospects will join the prospects of 3 other teams in Glendale for the Glendale team. Catcher Edward Duran, the number 14 prospect for the Jays by MLB Pipeline. Left-handed pitcher Kai Peterson. Right-handers Che Yeager and his 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and Yandre Rojas, they pitched for the C's earlier this year before getting promoted. They're on the Fall League roster as well, as is Josh Kasevich and Alex Amalfi, who were both in Vancouver last season. The C's home opener next year is April 7th at the Nat. Guarantee your seats for that one, plus all those sold-out games in the summer by calling 604-872-5232 or visiting CanadiansBaseball.com.
And it'll be the new and improved Nat Bailey Stadium. It'll be very fun.
And lastly, new documentary coming to Netflix. Who Killed the Montreal Expos? It premieres October 21st on the streaming service, directed by Jean-François Poisson. The film takes a behind-the-scenes look at the shocking disintegration of the beloved Montreal Expos. Much like with the Who Killed the Grizzlies documentary, I'm not sure there's a lot of mystery here. Like, I think the story
pretty
is
well chronicled.
known.
Yeah.
They played in a bad ballpark. The player strike of 94, when they were first place in the National League, killed that season. They came back, could not afford some of the players they had, basically became the Tampa Bay Rays, right?
Yep.
Started trading off their good players. Then couldn't find anyone who wanted to own them long-term in Montreal and get a new stadium together.
Do you think, and I don't think the documentary will be able to answer this because nobody can, does their fortune change if they win the World Series?
I think so.
1995.
I think
95?
So. 94.
94.
I think they're.
You think it does? I bet you it does not.
Well, it may have just delayed the inevitable, Blake, but I think a World Series championship that year, and remember how stylish that team was, right?
Yeah.
Like Moises Alou, Marquise Grissom.
You think politicians feel guilted into helping out and financing a new park?
I think there's a greater will to build a ballpark, yes, from all parties.
Maybe. Never know.
Delino DeShields. It's a really good team. And here's the other thing. We used to hear about potentially Montreal as a Major League Baseball expansion site or as a relocation site for the Tampa Bay Rays, who are now apparently going to be sold, and the new owner, who actually has mused about baseball in Orlando in the past. It seems like that team is going to stay put in the state of Florida, if not in the Tampa St. Pete community. I think the chances of baseball returning to Montreal are far smaller than they were 5 or 10 years ago.
I've never believed it.
I've always found it a little bit beyond the pale.
It's
but
like
there was a time when I thought, okay, Bell is based in Montreal. Bell may very well be looking at the Rogers Content play since buying the Blue Jays, which has been tremendously successful, and consider a world where, yes, we could buy a team, build a ballpark, have content for TSN, 162 games a year plus offshoot stuff, and that is worthwhile. But Bell just seems so well, I mean, first of all, just look at the stock, but secondly, huge investment into the media wing of the Bell empire is not something I see coming.
No. But do you think
because that's a several billion-dollar proposition, right? So that, like, honestly, any company should take a few looks at that.
And outside of the honeymoon period, do you see enough baseball fans?
Honestly, I didn't at the time, Blake, but it is extraordinary. The shelf life of that logo.
Well, but nostalgia's free, right? Nostalgia is free.
Is. Well,
putting money where that is something else.
I don't know. I mean, there's an economic boom. Like, have you seen housing prices in Quebec? Like, they're way up.
One place in the country?
We've got developers who are, nixing proposed condo towers in this town.
Yeah.
And in Quebec, like,
really?
Yeah, real estate.
I hadn't heard that.
Results of the Redwoods Golf Course poll question from Wednesday. Did Jim Rutherford's comments about the Hughes brothers wanting to play together upset you? Yes or no, the people said?
People said no.
Correct. Percentage?
64.
75. This was one of those poll questions that really, and I've mentioned this in the past, when you get smart comments, that's really fulfilling on this side of the microphone and this side of the poll, I'll tell you that. And this is one of those that incurred those sorts of comments. I'm going to read a number of them. Canuck girl, no, he's being real and honest. Fans want a GM that is open. We got one now. You guys are mad? I can't keep up. No, Canuck girl, we were not mad. No. Not at all.
Surprise.
Don't mistake the question for us being mad.
No.
Alan, more annoyed than upset, probably harmless, but speculative and unnecessary. The team likes to complain about noise, but much of it is self-inflicted.
That's a great answer.
Spot on, Alan. Colin and planning. It was honest, which is great. It also made this a storyline much earlier than it needed to be. So he has to wear that part of the story. Spot on, Colin.
Yep.
Gord. No, but he shouldn't have said it. I get why he said it. If they fail to sign him, it reduces the scrutiny. We can deduce that on our own if he signs to play with them. No need to make it public. I thought that was very good, Gord. And then mirror with we're ... adults ... Yes, we are. I did not get an error or an omission from yesterday's
I thought long and hard
program.
about it today, actually, and I could not
shocking.
find one as well.
All right. Well, we'll be worse tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll try.
Or today. Maybe there's already an error and omission today. Probably. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time and connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. We're back to 5 days a week on the show. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about and keep it local.